My job was to reach out for help. I wish I could tell you that there was some kind of Hollywood scene where I'm like, damn it, I'm finishing this. I emailed her researcher, I emailed her publisher, I emailed this journalist that she knew and worked with and said, could you guys please talk with me? How do we get, I want this book to be published with her name on it. You know, this is her work. How do we structure it so that it's her narrative and make her passing part of the narrative? And there's a very tragic moment when Michelle McNamara passed away on April 21st, 2016, and it's happening right as she's putting all this new stuff together, and then it's just cut off, and it's this it lands like such a for me obviously but it lands like a body blow. It's another in these series of disappointments in this. I mean, I hate to use, and there's another thing she talks about, a real danger for homicide detectives is, especially when they're pursuing a diabolical piece of shit like this guy, you start getting into that thing, oh, see, that was really clever what he did, and you start to creep into a little bit of admiration, and then you have to go, but he's a fucking rapist ass, then you gotta like snap out of it. And so she deals with that kind of syndrome too, that a lot of homicide detectives, you have to acknowledge, if you don't acknowledge the brilliant parts, because acknowledging where he was smart will help you catch him, but that's a sick feeling to do that.
She had that a little bit when she was talking.
There were moments when she would talk and she would have to go, and she describes it as you'll start talking about an ex-boyfriend, and then you realize you've been talking way too long, and so you're like, but he's a piece of shit, like, because you don't want someone going, you still like him. I'm like, no. Right. But there were things that he did that they were horrifying, and then your stomach crawls because you go, oh, and that's also kind of brilliant, in an awful way. So like he would attack couples. He wouldn't just like rape a woman. He would attack a married couple, and he'd make the husband lie face down in the kitchen and tie him up. Then he would stack plates and cups on his back and say, if I hear any of these hit the floor while I'm in the other room with your wife, I'll kill both of you. And the guy would just, sit there motionless. And there's a particularly horrifying scene where I think, he raped 50 people up in Sacramento, and the community everyone was freaking out. They were terrorized, and they had a huge public meeting, the entire city, and all the cops were answering questions and trying to reassure people. And a guy stood up and said, who I'm disgusted with is not the police, it's the men in this city that let a guy break into their house and rape their wives. If that asshole broke into my house, he'd be dead before he knew it. He and his wife were the next victims. So the guy was there in this meeting watching, and and they've poured over the photograph. There's photographs of that meeting, and they haven't spotted everyone in the thing's accounted for.
I'm glad you told the second part of that really fast, because I was about to be like, fuck that guy.
No, and then it was horrifying. So it's this level of, he was held at gunpoint by the police at one point, and he got away. They had him at gunpoint, and he slipped away. So there is something particularly monstrous about
the Pacific Northwest was
no, this is Sacramento and then south down into Goleta, Irvine, those areas.
Right.